It's tough to be a great husband or wife. It's tough to be a great father. It's tough to take care of yourself physically. So you have to make sure that you understand yourself and understand what is important to you and what's going to make you happy and prosperous so that you could live the life that you want to live. And as we said, we keep reminding them, you have one life to live. And we talk a lot about, do you ever hear the poem about the dash? That you're born on a certain day and you die on a certain day. That what are you going to do in between that's meaningful? What's important to you, not only in your work life, what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to think about you? What do you want your children or your spouse to say about you? What do you want people to say about you at work? In all areas of life. And spirituality is, we don't push religion, but we let them know, hey, listen, there's going to be a time in your life, there's a challenge that happens. And we're all going to have tragedies that happen in our life someday. How are you going to get through that? You're going to get through that by surrounding yourself with the right people and understanding the spirituality of what's important to you, that there's something greater than you in this life.
Right. Yeah.
It's part of our culture that we teach it and talk about it.
Right. I think the interesting thing, if you really ponder, it's all about a friend of mine said, it's all about the dash.
Yes, absolutely. And it truly makes you think. It's some deep thinking when you say, and I mean, that's really the reason I wrote this, is that I looked at it and said, my wife will say, you took so much time on this. Why? And why is this so important to you? As I said, because it's something that I feel is maybe the most important aspect of my life, other than my children. This is something that could live on forever. And I believe in it. I think the toughest sale you have to ever have in your life is selling yourself. I am sold that living a Theory of Five life will make sure people will have people happy and prosperous, and have people thinking about what they do have versus what they don't have, and what they can do versus what they can't do in life.
I'm pretty confident that, just from knowing you as much as I know you, that when you wrote this, you weren't going to let anything not be exactly how you wanted it.
Absolutely. The gentleman I worked with will tell you that. He will say, hey, Chris, this is not what is the norm when you're writing a book. And I'm like, well, now this is going to be probably the only book I write. And I actually made 5 updates since it initially came out. And he goes, well, people don't do this. And I'm like, well, I'm doing it because this is important to me. And I want it to be, I want people to read this and understand it. And if I see anything that I look at and say, you know what, I don't like the way that sounds, or I'm not sure if it's clear enough, let me go in there and let's change this a little bit to change it. So I've had 5 different updates. If someone bought this, a year and a half ago, and they bought it today and they looked through it, they would see little tweaks and little changes in there.
It's kind of a living, breathing entity to you, I think. And it's never done. As long as it's out there and survives, right, it can always be improved, even a little bit.
Well, I even have at the very end of the book, I have a little note to my children and grandchildren, where I let them know that, that my goal and my hope is that they continue to look at this and update it as time goes by, when I'm not around anymore, is that they would look at it. And, I went very specific and detailed to say, listen, this is important. And it's a life document, and it's in my will about what I wish to do, because I want this as a living and breathing document.
That's great. The other thing that maybe you could touch on, if not everybody understands that or caught this, but in the Theory of Five, and you and I spoke about this a little bit, it's not that all 5 things have to be balanced evenly. Mm-hmm. It's certain things will take more precedent than others at different times in your life. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, yes. For example, there may be a time like we're purchasing 2 dealerships in Pennsylvania. My next 3 to 6 months, I will have to invest more time in making sure those stores are up and going. That doesn't mean that I love my children or grandchildren or wife or my health or spirituality any less. It just means that I understand that, hey, there's sacrifices and focus that you have to do throughout life at any time. And there might be something, if something happens in my life, when my wife, was going through chemo and radiation, I had to take a little time off of work. And when I had my operation, I had to take a little bit of time off because I had to make sure that I was healing properly so that I could get back and be the person that I want to be for my children and for my wife and for the team members at work. So, and as life changes, being that you're in your 20s or you're in your 60s, your priorities and you start thinking differently, because you and I think differently now than we did when we were in our 20s and 30s. And
Sure.
I'm sure when we were in our 80s, God willing, that we're in our 80s or not, we're going to think differently then.
Right. Exactly.
But the five key concepts will always be important no matter what.
If you could give the dealers out there your best advice on the theory of five, personally and professionally, what would that be?
Well, I believe as a dealer and as a leader, not only is our goal to make sure that we have an organization that's profitable, but it's also to influence and impact people's lives. I mean, this industry has been wonderful to me. And I talked to a lot of friends that, I got involved in this industry thinking I was going to do it in 1984. I'll do this until I find out what I really want to do. And that's the case for most people, unless they were born into this industry with a family. And this industry has given so much back to us. I feel it's an obligation that when you're in a role of a leader, that you're not only helping people professionally, but you're helping guide them in their life as a father or mother, and you're giving them guidance as far as how to be a husband or wife, and you're there for support and guidance. Because I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for, I've only worked for 2 dealers in my life, but if it wasn't for the 2 dealers I had in my life, I know I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. If the first dealer I met didn't take the time and walk me through on here's how you manage money, here's how you prospect, here's how this is your own business. If Mr. Kelly didn't take the time, he's now 86 years old, didn't take the time with me when I was younger and guide me and coach me, I know I would not be the person I am as far as a father or a husband or the business person I am today.
Please go to part 4 of the Theory of Five author Chris Saraceno on It's the Car Business.